Super Bowl 52 is in the books, and the Philadelphia Eagles can finally soar after winning their first Super Bowl title in a thriller over Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. I'm joined by our NFL experts, Carme and Emmanuel Tobe, to recap the big game. So, Christian, I'm going to start with you. What do you think was the key to the Eagles' win?
Coaching. I think that Doug Peterson came out on fire, and he came out aggressive, and I think the Patriots came out flat. And I throw that up to Bill Belichick and their defensive schemes.
Well, I think you can say, yes, their defensive schemes, but also look at their defensive team. Like, throughout the year, they have not been playing well defensively. I mean, they were last in terms of points per game. They just do not have the talent to compete with the Eagles' offense, who has
I agree with you, but they have Nick Foles. There's a backup quarterback. Granted, Doug Peterson came out with a good game plan and put Nick Foles in the position, but I think that if you have the best coach in the league, you can. They've made that. The Patriots haven't had a great defense to begin with.
But Foles is a god, though. Foles is a god in the playoffs. Foles, in his 4 playoff games, he has 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, 71% completion rate, 113.2 passer rating. Come on now.
In previous Super Bowls, the Patriots haven't had that great of a defense. So there's no excuse for Bill Belichick to come up with that game plan and to leave a particular defensive player on the bench for the entire game.
They had him in the game. In the games, like throughout the season, and their defense still was not good. You cannot blame like Malcolm Butler on them losing the Super Bowl.
Nick Foles went. Listen to this. Nick Foles were 6 of 7 for 137 yards on 3rd down when targeting their number 2 corner. Guess who their number 2 corner would have been? Malcolm Butler.
Let's take a second to talk about Nick Foles. He rose to the occasion by winning Super Bowl MVP. This raises the question, Manny, what do the Eagles do with Nick Foles in the offseason?
So for me, I feel like the Eagles should give him some time. I don't think they should go out and trade him right now, because the whole thing with Carson Wentz, he tore his ACL and his LCL. If it was just an ACL tear, then he would be out his walking boot by now, but he's not. So he still has his knee brace on. I would wait a little bit, see how he comes back, see how his mobility is, and if he's not ready to go 100%, I would play Nick Foles for the first couple of games of the season. Why not?
I disagree. I just think that you're going to get your most value for this quarterback right now. NFL Super Bowl winner Nick Foles, trade him right now. Nick Foles is 29 years old. Carson Wentz is 25 years old. Nick Foles has 1 year left. Carson Wentz has 3 years left. It just makes sense. Get for him what you can now, because there's no way Nick Foles is going to be Nick the way he was for a long, long time.
But you can still trade him for value during week 3 of the NFL.
Not as high as it would in the offseason.
Not as high, but
in the Jimmy Garoppolo trade, they waited and they didn't get that much for him. They would have got it first.
Jimmy Garoppolo did not win a Super Bowl, though.
Right, but
his value is not going to decrease that much.
But Nick Foles was never a starter, and he's not that good. He's not as good as his sample size indicates. There's just no way he's going to keep that up.
Well, moving on to someone who arguably is as good as his sample size would say, do you think this loss will taint Tom Brady's legacy?
No, not on the field, because he threw 500 yards in the game. He's been Tom Brady in this game. That you can't blame this loss on Brady, at all. He played out of his mind. Off the field, though, with the Tom versus time thing coming out, when it did, and all his TB12 brand, that could hurt him. But
I don't think that could hurt him.
Well, Bill Belichick is the only one whose legacy could be tainted with this. That was a horrendous call.
Wait, hold on. Bill Belichick's legacy, the guy who's been to 11 Super Bowls? Are you serious?
Yes.
How was his legacy tainted?
This was the worst call to keep Malcolm Butler out in the second half. He played in special teams. You dressed him.
He played one special teams play.
He should have been playing defense.
If he did something to corrupt the team, then why put him on the field?
In 3rd and 4th down situations, the Eagles were 12 of 18 to their second targets. They completed 66% of key plays on 3rd and 4th down. You don't think all they needed was one stop.
But tell me how this loss right here affects his other 5 Super Bowls that he's won, though.
Because it's a Super Bowl loss.
It's a Super Bowl loss.
It was coaching. It was
not just coaching. There's no way it was just coaching. And okay, if it was coaching, how is it just Malcolm Butler then?
Because the Patriots played nickel defense. They played nickel defense is 2 cornerbacks. One was Stephon Gilmore. The other one was Eric Rowe. Eric Rowe was the cornerback from the Eagles, and they kept They 6 for 7 for 137 yards to Eric Rowe.
I mean, you're throwing out
That's
that statistic,
unbelievable.
but you
Put in
can't
Malcolm
just
Butler.
put-
Malcolm Butler steps up.
Malcolm
for
Butler
games.
would not have
Bruh.
won that game.
The
Malcolm Butler came
2015
off the bench last Super Bowl too.
And what did he do?
made
Oh,
one play.
Which was
There's-
the Super Bowl winning
There is no
interception.
way. Do you think he would have made that same play?
He
you
would have
think
made one play.
He has
in
2
one of those crucial
interceptions this
downs.
all year.
All they needed was one play. All they needed was one
was
play.
not just that
no
one play.
one could
What
have
if he-
played as bad as Eric Rowe, Badamosi, or Richards.
What about the defensive line that had no sacks?
What about the? Okay,
Look.
neither team had any sacks except for one strip sack at the end. Both
That
teams
made a
played-
giant difference to the game.
Correct. All you needed was one play from Butler, and they didn't even give him a chance. They didn't even give him a chance, and that's the biggest mistake. He
not
he
the
dressed
biggest
him
mistake.
in the second half. You saw how much you got killed in the first half. You have to put him in the second half. He played in special teams. You have to put him in.
But
the
you know
second half.
Belichick is not someone who will like go for something and then change his mind. Belichick is a man of his word.
That's defense. That's second half adjustments. You need to make your second half.
If you're
adjustments.
Brady, if you're Belichick, if you're the Patriots, you're looking to hit the reset button and look to 2019. But stick around as our NBA experts will highlight the upcoming trade deadline and recap the biggest trade so far.